Saturn, called the Great Malefic by astrologers for millennia. But really, Saturn's the black cube of the ancient mysteries, also known as the Black Sun, or the Second Sun. That sun that to the mythical Hyperborean race sits motionless in the northern skies. Saturn runs really deep into the soul of man, embedded solidly within the psyche. As gatekeeper to the higher spiritual realms, it can unleash all kinds of nightmares. Although ultimately, Saturn's a bestower of great gifts. Gifts beyond imagining. In the physical realm, Saturn's a little solar system in its own right, with many dozens of moons and hundreds of moonlets revolving around it. Saturn itself revolves around the Sun in approximate 30-year cycles. Throughout human history, until not too long ago, 30 years has been just about our average lifespan. And so naturally, Saturn has come to represent old age as well as death. Because it's the slowest and most distant of the planets visible to the naked eye, Saturn also symbolizes time. Its ancient Greek name Chronos seems to suggest that much. In ancient Greece, Kronos was a vengeful and jealous god. He castrates his father, and he later goes on to eat his children, fearing the prophecy that one of them would someday depose him. A prophecy finally accomplished by his son Zeus, who defeats Kronos and buries him in the depths of the earth. There's yet another prophecy that proclaims that Kronos will one day break his chains and return to the surface to rule the earth once more. These are the stories that have built Saturn's reputation as the Great Malefic, while his son Zeus, the planet Jupiter, has been enjoying his name as the Great Benefic. Still, despite Jupiter's as well as the Sun's reputation as being so beneficial to mankind, when left to their own devices, these archetypes actually become devourers of souls. Especially the Sun, who in this modern age we've come to almost completely identify with. The Sun, and to a lesser extent Jupiter, is where we take most of our energy from. So most often, whichever signs they occupy in our birth chart, that's where they possess us, without us even realizing it. We enact the archetypal stories that inform these signs until we completely become them, and they in turn slowly devour us. It takes the conscious integration of Saturn within the psyche to contain and restrain these otherwise self-serving energies. The placement of Saturn within our birth chart serves as a clue as to how to properly balance these lower, pleasure-oriented drives. Like an old and wise hermit, Saturn slowly teaches us how to walk the narrow path. A path of discipline and self-control that ultimately leads to great power. To the ancient Romans, Saturn was the god of wealth and agriculture. Unlike Jupiter's more superficial and instantaneous wealth, Saturn's wealth comes from a patient dedication. It comes from careful observation, from counting the hours and the days, and from recounting the seasons, and from planting seeds and then caring for the crops and gardens that sprout from these. As a farmer, Saturn's a long-term planner, planning a course not only for itself, but also for the many generations that are still to come. Like in the Osirian mysteries, Saturn reveals its greatest spiritual secrets through agricultural symbolism. At the deep soul level, Saturn's the planet of reincarnation, a planet of contraction that condenses and stores vast amounts of information, recording all our works and all of our daily routine, the good and the bad, through each passing life. More commonly known as the gatekeeper to the higher spiritual dimensions, Saturn's equally the initiator to those higher dimensions. There will come a time after we die when we must face Saturn, and we could either transcend it, like the Christ and the Buddha, or be sent back to the earth realm once again. Or we could choose now to die unto ourselves, sacrificing those lower parts of the self in the present for the greater long-term self that lies in the future. Even though the Saturn archetype can seem to carve its own path without our conscious direction, it is in reality the daily habits that we form for ourselves that direct its trajectory. Each discipline we develop keeps it moving ahead towards a specific goal. This is the process that was known to the alchemists of old as the transformation of lead into gold. The transmuting of the lead that is Saturn into the gold that is the Sun, or the second sun. The transmuting of Saturn's initial sensations of heaviness and constraint into incredible powers. Powers that open doors into the greater mysteries, and into forms of wealth that lie far beyond the worldly imagination.